Welcome to the Alaskan Journey Podcast. My name is Jamin. I'm your first friend in Alaska. Purpose of this podcast is to answer your questions about moving to Alaska from the perspective of people who actually do live up here. And today we're very lucky to be joined by Kathleen. She's lived up here, actually getting close to a year at this point, huh?
8 months.
8 months. Okay. But getting there pretty close, though. We're not too far off, really. But yeah, this kind of good opportunity to kind of talk about, what you think about Alaska so far, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So thank you very much for joining.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's go and just start with this then. Where did you move from when you were moving to Alaska?
From Dallas, Texas.
Gotcha. What made you start thinking about Alaska?
I've always wanted to live here. My grandparents lived here before I was born, and I never knew them, but Alaska was always something that was in my family, that we had Alaska memorabilia and things like that, and we'd vacationed here a couple of times, and I always thought it'd be fun to live up here. It got to the point that I was looking for a new job and wasn't finding anything in my area that I liked, and there happened to be an opening up here, so after thinking about it for a couple of months, I applied. And ended up here.
Oh, very nice. So real quick, were your grandparents like here in South Central, or what
They're
part
in
were they
Kenai.
From Kenai?
For oil, yep.
Gotcha. Okay, well that makes sense. Okay.
Yep.
So with just kind of looking at the job prospects up here, what was that like compared to the lower 48 for you? Was that easier? Like what was that like?
It was. I work in a very niche field, and so it's different than compared to other things because there are very few of my profession. When I really wanted to move up here when I very first finished graduate school, which was almost 20 years ago, there was one person in my profession in the entire state.
Oh, wow.
They were from Alaska and had to wait 6 years for their job. So at that point, I was like, okay, this is never going to happen. But now there's, I think, 5 of us in the state. Very exciting. And this is the only opening I had noticed for a long time. But there weren't that many other people applying to it because it is a niche field and most people don't necessarily want to be up here. So it was a different experience than other people looking for jobs, I think.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, they have to it's a whole process. And
yeah.
I mean, we've had whole podcasts kind of talking about that. But yeah, 1 of 5, that is such a niche. Okay.
It is. I think there's maybe 2,000 in the entire United States. So it's a very niche field.
Okay. Well, we got a celebrity here, so that's
no,
good.
It's not a celebrity. Just there's not a lot of us. You don't need a lot of us, so it's okay.
Okay. Well, that's fair. That's fair. So had you had a chance to come up and visit Alaska at any point?
My family had vacationed in Alaska a few times, but always in the summer, not in the winter. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So how long did you go from thinking about moving to Alaska to getting in the car, getting on the plane and coming up here and you're here? How long was that period for you?
Thinking about it seriously until I was on the plane was maybe less than 4 months. I saw the job opening in midsummer, and I kind of joked around with my family saying, oh, that would be so cool, but I'm not going to move there because I need to be near y'all. I want to be near my family. That job disappeared, and then it reappeared again. They had hired somebody, and then that person decided they didn't really want to move up here.
It's like there are now 4 of us.
So once it appeared again, I talked to my counterparts I'd be working with a lot about it and talked to my family, my mom and my sister about it a lot before I even applied because I wanted to make sure it was something that I really wanted to do, to live so far away from my family. To applying, I think the position became available again mid-September. I think I applied early October, came up here for an interview at the end of October. And I thought that I was going to have 4 months before I'd have to move up here for credentialing purposes, but it turned out they were like, nope, we want you here in 2 months. So flew up at the very end of January.
Which is the ideal time of year to move up here.
Of course.
Yeah. So what were those conversations like with friends and family when you were talking about moving up here? Because I've done the Texas to Alaska transition before. It was a little different for me because I was actually moving towards family, like not away from them. So, I mean, what was that conversation like?
With my family, they were excited for me. My mom said, "Oh, I'll move up there with you for the first year." And I said, "I don't know that you need to live with me for the first year." But she was excited about the prospect because when she first married my dad, they came up here for summers and things like that since her in-laws lived up here. So, and they used to vacation here every 5 years or so. They'd come up here. So she was excited about the prospect. She was sad about me moving far away because my dad had just passed away maybe 4 years before that. So it was the first time my mom had ever lived alone in her entire life. And that was one of the reasons I was like, I don't really know if this is the right time, but I want a different position, and there's one there, and it seems like a good time for me. So we talked about it a lot, and it seemed all positive. So that was good. And my coworkers and friends, they were like, yeah, that makes sense. You should do that.
So there really was no pushback for you then?
No, not really.
Okay, well that's really cool. I know a lot of people, like, they can actually run into like a lot of issues with friends or family, like really kind of pushing back and them not wanting to do it. So
Yeah.
It's good to kind of have that, we'll call it home court support,
Yeah.
I guess, across the country, if that makes any sense.
Yes, they were definitely supportive.
Yeah. Outstanding. So for you in that process of like moving up here then, like that's really short fuse from, thinking about moving up here to we're on a plane and coming up here. Like what for you was kind of the biggest challenge, like from point A to point B there?
So from the time that I accepted my position, like I said, I thought I would have 4 months to sell my house, get everything ready, pack up everything, and I ended up having 2 months. So it was just trying to get my house sold, my property taken care of, and figuring out how I'm going to get up here and where I'm going to live once I come up here. But it all worked out, so that's okay.
Yeah. So Dallas real estate market, is that collapsing and all that? I keep seeing all the hyperbolic like YouTube videos talking about it. Like, is the market collapsing or?
No, it was, at the time I was selling my house, I was told it was an even market.
Okay.
So I sold it for exactly what I wanted to sell it for. But there wasn't like a price war or anything like that. And I think it was on the market for less than a week. So I was happy with it. I didn't necessarily want to make a whole lot more money. I had a price in mind that I wanted that would cover the rest of my mortgage and have enough left over for me to do what I wanted to do up here.
Right.
So I was happy with that.
Right. Now, for getting your stuff up here, did you ship that stuff up or? Okay.
I did. I used the U-Haul U-Pods. So I got rid of most of my things and used 2 of those U-Pod things, and they held it in storage up here for 7 months until I was able to move into a house.
Yeah, and about that, let's talk about the getting your house up here. What was that like?
Oh, that was so much fun. It wasn't bad. It just took a long time because we had 10 offers on houses before we finally ended up with the right one. And we did have one accepted before that, but turned out it was not a good situation. And after my realtor talked to me about it multiple times about backing out, eventually I was like, fine. It's probably the right decision. I'll back out, even though I love this house. So,
yeah, that was a tough one. It's like, why do all the bad people out there have like nice, cute, eclectic houses? But no, I good times. So 10 offers, and I mean, you had like a lot of endurance, and like a lot of buyers. I mean, they kind of give up after the 3rd or 4th one, but I mean, you kept at it and all that. I'm trying to remember how many months were we at it though, where for a while it felt like every Friday that was just in our routine.
Yeah.
We were going to go look at houses. So how long were we in that home searching mode?
I think it was about 7 months.
7 months. Yeah.
I mean, we had a month off where we thought we had a house, but for the most part, it was about 7 months. And every weekend, I would go to the open houses that were within my price range and my criteria. So that took up most of my time.
Yeah. So for people coming in from out of state then, and they might be used to more like a market like a Dallas or one of these bigger metropolises, what advice would you give them just to kind of help them calibrate their expectations for Alaska real estate?
Look at the real estate available before you move up here, but those are not necessarily going to be the ones that are available once you get up here. I think that you have to be aware that there may be lots of things that you're going to have to fix and take care of. And I had certain criteria that I really wanted. And so there were plenty of other houses that probably would have been fine, but I knew I wouldn't be entirely happy with. So you have to decide whether it's worth waiting many months before you find what you want, or if you just want to get into something right away and you'll be fine with whatever you have.
And I think that's really good advice. I mean, kind of just defining what is actually important to you and what's not. I mean, some people, like, they really just need a roof over their head. And, like, as soon as we can get in, then we can start planning, like, the home upgrade next summer or something like that. But yeah, I mean, we were a lot more surgical in kind of how we approached it with you. Plus, I mean, we're finding stuff off market and, crazy times. For some of y'all out there, you've heard recently, I've started like talking about a new thing of kind of go check the crime, the court view for like sellers. That may or may not have been inspired by some transactions we had with Kathleen. So that's the origin right there. Outstanding. So what were the some of the big difference you saw between the houses in Texas and houses like in Alaska? Because I mean, you're kind of my house expert for. I know that.
So I know a lot of people say that the houses up here are older, and they're not necessarily. I lived in a 1950s house in Dallas, and I loved it. I like that the older houses are not cookie cutter. They don't look exactly the same. And a lot of the houses up here were built in the 70s and 80s. So it's a different type of older home, but I don't mind it. A lot of them are split level. And so that was something I had to figure out whether it was worth it, because my mom cannot do stairs very often, and she probably will come stay with me in the summers. So looking for something that wouldn't have a whole lot of stairs that she could maneuver well was something that I was looking for. In Anchorage, a lot of the houses are much closer than I expected to each other. You look out your windows or you go in your backyard and you're looking at other houses. So that's something to be aware of. And it depends on your price range. If you have a bigger price range than me, then you can probably find something that is a little bit further away from other houses. That was the two things that I noticed the most.
Yeah, and for some people, that's really surprising because you think about real estate in Alaska, everyone's thinking like the idyllic like cabin on a lake with like 10 acres all the way around you, and they're not envisioning zero lot line in Anchorage.
Yeah. And I didn't expect to have that much land, but I did expect to have some kind of view, which I ended up with, so that's good.
Yeah. I mean, it all worked out, so there was a happy ending here. Outstanding. So you got here right during the January timeframe.
Yep.
And coming in from Texas, that's quite an adjustment there. Like, how did you do with like the cold, the dark, all the things? Like, how did you adjust to it?
The day I flew in, the high was 4 degrees that day, which is not the normal, I don't think. So my mom was really, really cold. I had lived in upstate New York for a couple of years. It was almost 20 years ago. That was my first professional job. But so the cold wasn't that bad to me. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to move up here. So I'm not hot. So I didn't mind the cold. And for the dark, I think because moving was such an adjustment and being away from family was such an adjustment, that the dark and the short days wasn't really something that I was thinking about at that time because there was too many other things to adjust to.
And that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, if you've really got something to kind of stay focused on, you're probably not going to notice like any seasonal like differences like, on the internal clock and everything. Is that something you think you might run into this year? Now things are slowing down a little bit and, you know, we're not quite as, foot on the gas pedal.
I'm hoping not. I tend to work 3 days a week unless my counterpart is off. So I have plenty of other days that I'm on call, but hopefully I'm not called in, that I can go and spend outside. And so I'm hoping that will help a lot with the shorter days and not as much daylight, is that I will have weekdays that I can go do things. But we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, that's, I think that would kind of be a good scenario to where you can actually like get out during the daytime and go and do stuff because, so people can start getting a little cagey right around like February, March. So that's the longest period you've gone without a lot of direct good sunlight. So, I guess be looking out for that.
Yes.
If you are looking at any happy lights, and yeah, I think it's LA Star. I'm not sponsored or anything, but they're pretty good. You just have to get something that's 10,000 lux or more in order to like get the benefit from it. But yeah, you should be okay with your schedule.
Yeah.
So okay, came up here, got adjusted and all that. What were the people like?
Everybody has been pretty friendly. Coming from Texas, it's a different kind of friendly. I'm fairly outgoing with strangers. I can talk to anybody if they're in the store or whatever, but in a big group, then I'm not outgoing at all. I'm much more introvert. So if I'm in a store or at the auto shop or whatever, I don't mind chatting up with the random person next to me. And those people are chatting back and very friendly. So that's been good. My coworkers and the people I work for are also very nice, and several of them invited me to go do things with them. So that has been good. I've had people, once I moved into my house, we had lots of wind, and part of my fence blew down. And I had several people that stopped by and said, hey, do you know that your fence is down? And several others that stopped by and helped me put it back up. And that was not something I'd ever experienced in Dallas. I probably would experience that in smaller towns in Texas, but not in Dallas. If my fence blew down, they'd be like, hey, get that fixed.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty amazing that they were there to help immediately. They're like, we're worried about your dog. Is everything okay? That was really neat experience to have.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess one thing real quick, you ended up kind of settling in the Eagle River area. What for you was the deciding factor of making you want to go to Eagle River as opposed to, Anchorage, which arguably a lot closer for commuting and all that, but what made you to pick Eagle River over Anchorage proper?
That is just where the house was.
Okay.
I mean, my realtor really recommended Eagle River. He thought that was a good place to settle, but for me, it was just that's where the house was. I like Anchorage. I like that there's things to do there, and there's lots of restaurants, and but the houses were so close together, and most of the houses I found that I liked were in Eagle River. And so that's where I ended up because they were larger lots that's what I wanted. And I could find more views, which is also what I wanted. And so that's why I ended up there.
Mm-hmm. So what has it been like going from Dallas, Texas, where every convenience in the world you can think of, is there, and then you come to like Alaska, which, well, I'll let you talk about it. So, what has kind of been your adjustment for going from that to, what we have here?
Yeah. I grew up in a small town, and so some of the things that I was used to in Dallas weren't things that I had to have. But there's definitely adjustments for ordering from Amazon, which I think everybody says probably on your podcast. Mm-hmm. In Dallas, I could get a lot of things on the same day if I ordered them because I was in Dallas proper.
Nice.
And so there were lots of things I'd be like, oh, that one's going to be overnight. I don't want that one. I'll find it from this other person that I can get on the same day. I could get things from the Apple store from the same day. They would come and deliver it to my house because I was in Dallas proper, not in one of the suburbs. If I was in the suburbs, I wouldn't be able to do that as much. And here, all those things take a little bit longer. I don't even know if there is an Apple store. There is it there in Anchorage?
I think there is, but it's like it's in the mall.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because, I had to go get my phone completely wiped. Yeah, so there is, long story. But yes, there is an Apple store in the mall. One.
Yeah. And things from Amazon can take a week or more. And so it just takes a little bit more planning. You're not going to get things overnight. If you need something right away, then you're going to go to the store and find it.
Yep. Absolutely. But I think another expectation I've seen from people, though, is they kind of think, like, talking about going to Alaska, they're thinking you're going to have to just go kill something and drag it home every night almost. And it's almost like a shock to them when it's like, no, we do have a Walmart, we do have Fred Meyer's, like we do have all these things. But yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I don't know why people would think that. I mean, you can be that kind of subsistence person if you want, but that's kind of like people think, oh, you're from Texas. That means you rode a horse to school, right? No.
It's like, I'm sure you've not heard that one before.
I also used to think that all houses in the north could not be white because then they'd blend into the snow. So everybody has their peculiarities that they think of other places that they're not familiar with.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. Very true. For some people, it's a disappointment. For others, it's a relief. But real question, how are you adjusting to no Chick-fil-A up here?
Yeah, okay, so there's several restaurants that I do miss. I just buy Chick-fil-A sauce at the grocery store, and so that helps. But yes, no Chick-fil-A is sad. No Chipotle. No, there's a restaurant called Cava, which is kind of like Chipotle, but it's Mediterranean. There's none of those. There's not even very many Mediterranean restaurants here. But no Container Store. That also makes me sad, but that's okay.
Yeah, and let's see. We also don't have, obviously, no H-E-B, which that's a tough one. No Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
No Whataburger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a mess. Hopefully we'll get that someday.
But there's plenty of other things to try, and so that's okay.
Yeah, it's so here in Eagle River, for whatever reason, like we really specialize in Mexican food. Have you gone and like tried any of the Mexican food here?
I've been to a couple. One I was very disappointed by, and the other one was pretty decent. But there are several more to try, so.
Yeah, which I mean, that's high praise if you're coming from Texas, though. So,
but I've also had trouble finding good Thai and Indian food. Those are really my favorites, and I've been having trouble finding good ones of those. But there's plenty more to try. So,
yeah, well, the journey will continue then. Yeah. So, what has it been like getting out and kind of exploring the state so far? Have you had much of an opportunity to get out and see much outside the area? I mean, we've been so dialed in on getting you into a house for so long.
Yeah, I've done some, but not a lot, because every weekend I was going and looking at open houses if I could. But also I moved up here alone, just me and my dog. And so finding other people to do things with is not as easy. And I'll go out and hikes by myself, but then I'm like, there's lots of bear attacks right now. Is this really a good idea? Or maybe I don't need to go hiking down by the river because they're all eating the salmon. So making sure that I'm doing things safely, but not being too scared about doing things is where I'm trying to figure things out. But I've bought a pack raft because I went pack rafting once, and that was lots of fun, and tried paddleboarding and been berry picking a few times, and I've really enjoyed that. So some things.
Yep, absolutely. Have you had a chance to, I don't know, go down to the Kenai Peninsula, like where the grandparents were and everything?
I haven't. I mean, that's where we went on vacation. We'd go to the Kenai Peninsula and then to Denali, of course, but I haven't since I've moved here.
Gotcha. Well, that's definitely going to be something. I mean, for me, it's just kind of a fun area to go to, like in the fall time, really, just because, like, obviously the leaves are changing and all that, and then you also have tourist season is done, and like everyone is just kind of like relaxing with the tourists aren't here anymore, and they just kind of like start getting a little bit more chill again.
Yeah.
But they still have like a lot of the tourist things like still like revved up and ready to go. It's just not, tourists just aren't there. So there's this small window where if you hit it just right, you're not gonna have to mortgage the house to go do something and have fun there. Yeah. And also people are going to be a little nicer. So yeah.
Are there more fall colors in the peninsula than there are up here?
I think they're probably about the same.
Okay.
Honestly, my favorite place to go look at the fall colors is you just go drive towards like Sutton or Chickalone.
Okay.
Like that's kind of my favorite spot because those hills are like really rolling over there. And I don't know if you've driven up there before.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So the roads here, they are, how do I explain this? They're pretty sketchy.
Yes.
Maybe that's the best way of describing it. So you're driving along there, and you know how most places, if there's like a cliff of about 300, 400 feet or so to like a fast-moving river at the bottom, they'll have like some kind of a guardrail. Yeah, nothing. You're just out there by yourself figuring it out.
Yeah.
And the road's kind of windy and all that, so it's really fun to kind of stay engaged there. But the cool thing about it is you are driving up and over a lot of hills. So you get the ability to see like the rolling landscape with all the golden leaves and all that as you're going along. So, that's a lot of fun. So do recommend that. Sutton or Chickalone driving up there, that's definitely the place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Yep. So let's see here. Do you have any things that you're really wanting to do, like now that we're kind of transitioning into the wintertime?
Yeah. Well, I've heard so much about ice skating up here from you that I would love to try ice skating. And there's lots of winter activities that I want to try. I mean, I've done cross-country skiing once before when I was in upstate New York, so I think that would be fun to do. And just hiking, snowshoeing. I don't really know if snowshoeing's worth it, but it seems fun.
It's I've gone snowshoeing a couple of times. It is definitely a lot of work because you wouldn't expect it, but what actually ends up happening, you're not really like walking on top of the snow. You are really just making like these steps, and you sink in like a solid like 6 inches or a foot, and then it like stops you. But it's not quite gliding along the top that I was expecting going into it. So yeah, you're going to do some work, but you can go places you couldn't otherwise.
I've been snowshoeing once, but it was on groomed trails in Colorado. So I don't know that it would be quite the same as going on wild trails.
Yeah, your experience would probably differ. Yeah. So I guess kind of real quick here, been here in Eagle River for a little bit. How would you kind of describe the town of Eagle River so far?
I think I've been here for 4 weeks now. So it's hard to really say. It's a small town feel, but it's not a tiny town. And because we're so close to Anchorage, it feels more like a suburb than it does a small town. But almost everything you need is here. I mean, there's nice grocery stores here and nail salons and things like that. So there's nothing that is missing. You could get almost anything you needed in the town, but it's not high traffic. You have to exit the highway to get to Eagle River. So I know lots of people in Anchorage that have lived here most of their lives that haven't been to Eagle River because...
Really?
Well, they might like drive through it to go to the nature preserve or something, but they haven't spent a lot of time in town because you have to have a reason to come to town.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Okay,
which is nice
fair.
Because that means we don't have near as many of the tourists and things like that.
Yep, that is very true.
Yeah.
So for you then, what would you say so far have kind of been the pros and the cons of living in Alaska?
So like we talked about, you have to think a little bit more when you're ordering things about how long it's going to take, whether it's worth it to order it or if you can find something similar here. I sold so many things before I moved up here that I'm trying to repurchase furniture and things like that up here. And I have found, even though I can find them, it's almost twice as much to buy something even used for furniture as it was from when I originally purchased it or how much I sold it for in Dallas. So that's a little bit, it's not a lot of money, but it's a little bit more. And I'm just looking at Facebook Marketplace and used furniture stores and things like that. Yeah, that's what I can think of at the moment.
Yeah, well, that is perfectly fair. Perfectly fair. Do you have any, I guess, closing words of advice for anyone who's thinking about making the move up here to Alaska? Or, you know what? We'll say this. Any closing words of advice for anyone who's suddenly finding out they've got 2 months to move to Alaska?
Just plan everything out. Make sure if you're bringing things, your belongings, that they're things that you really actually need and want. The moving was not quite as expensive as I thought it would be. I read lots of people say, it's going to be like $30,000, $40,000 to move to Alaska. It wasn't quite that much, but it depends on how many things that you're bringing up here. Be open-minded about activities that you do here, people that you meet, where you might want to end up living. And I think you have to look at the bright side of things and make the most of what you're doing. You're going to be in a different place than what you're used to. But if you look at the bright side of things, then you'll be just fine.
And that is about as positive of a place I think we can leave it. So, Kathleen, thank you very much for joining us and kind of talking about, what your experience has been like so far. Glad to have you living here in Eagle River now. So glad we were able to get that done for you. It wasn't even about closing another house. It was turning into a point of pride at some point there. It was like, okay, come on, it's been 7 months. Let's get this one over the finish line. But yeah, glad we got that done for you. Glad that you're living here and, glad to have you at the meetups and everything. And everyone else, thank you very much for joining us and we'll see you next time.
Bye.